Well, this week the FAA sent out notice to the airlines, the Airlines Pilots Association, as well as to affected airports that the FAA will be banning all radio altimeter-based aircraft auto landings at 100 airports across the United States. They said they are doing this as a precaution ahead of the January 19th rollout of C-band 5G cellular networks in the U.S. But meanwhile, in Europe, where 5G cellular networks have been available for a while now, EASA said there's no danger to aircraft in European airspace from 5G service near airports, where aircraft have been flying normally for the better part of a year now. So why does the US FAA see a danger in 5G that the rest of the world does not? And what exactly is 5G anyway? Well, I'll explain. Next, on Maximus. Greetings everybody, Maximus here, fighting off yet another cold. But never fear, I just had the crew in here to de-ice my wings and I'm ready to fly. So have you been paying attention to all the controversy in the news lately about how the launch of 5G cellular networks in the US may or may not wreak havoc on the unsuspecting flying public and even cause commercial aircraft to fall out of the sky? Well, if you're like me, you're probably thinking, what exactly is the big deal with 5G anyway? After all, we've heard this all before, when cell phones were new and there was a fear that using your cell phone on an aircraft could cause your plane to crash. Even now, in 2022, some airlines still have draconian restrictions on cell phone use. Additionally, as I said at the top, the regulators in Europe have determined that there's no danger in Europe from 5G service to aircraft either on the ground or in the air. So then why is the FAA raising red flags over 5G in the US, but European regulators are not? Well, among other unsubstantiated reasons, the biggest reason is a two-word answer: unions and politics. But I'll get into that in a minute. But first, what exactly is 5G anyway, and what's so potentially dangerous about it? 5G is simply the fifth generation of the cellular mobile network. It's a new global wireless standard that comes after the original 1G, 2G, 3G, and 4G networks. 5G will enable a new kind of network that is designed to connect virtually everyone and everything together, including machines, objects, and devices. Now, there is a bunch of high-tech mumbo-jumbo that comes along with that explanation, such as higher multiple Gbps peak data speeds, ultra-low latency, more reliability, massive network capacity, increasing the speed of exchange of data packets, yada yada yada. But the bottom line is simply that 5G is bigger, better, faster, and stronger than previous versions. So that the next time you're hiding from the boss sitting on the can, you can stream Netflix really fast. Okay, so then what does 5G have to do with the operation of modern aircraft, specifically landing and auto-landing? And why is there a discrepancy between European and US air travel when it comes to 5G? Well, according to what aviation experts told Barron's in a recent article, they said that one thing is for sure: a green light for 5G in Europe doesn't come from a lack of caution among regulators. After all, they said the European Union Aviation Safety Agency warned about the potential risk of interference from 5G near airports not in the EU, but in the US. EASA says that presently no risk of unsafe interference has been identified in Europe. Instead, the regulators cited the FAA, which saw a specific risk in the US due to the higher implementation of potentially higher 5G ground station power emissions earlier this year. They said that the source of more wariness in the US may stem from the guts of the radio technology itself. The issue is whether cellular signals from the 5G radio band could interfere with aircraft altimeters, or as they say in Europe, altimeters. The problem is that radio altimeters are close radio spectrum neighbors to the 5G band. The potential problem is most pronounced when a plane is landing near 5G stations on the ground, near airports that are emitting close to an altimeter or 5G smartphones that are transmitting within the airplane. This would explain why regulators are focused on the safety impact around airports. George Holmes, the CEO of Resonant, a 5G industry company, told the news site Barron's that the difference between the US and Europe stems from allocated frequencies for 5G and their proximity to the defined band for altimeters. In the US, 5G is allocated to a range between 3.7 GHz and 3.98 GHz, which is closer to the 4.2 GHz to 4.4 GHz frequency for altimeters than in Europe, which has allocated the 3.4 to 3.8 GHz range for 5G.
1.21 gigawatts! 1.21 gigawatts! Great Scott!
Holmes said that in Europe, altimeter filters will be better at stopping 5G signals, which will result in less potential interference. He said we're dealing with very low probabilities, but with extremely devastating consequences. We are still in the early stages of 5G deployments and usage, so this interference problem remains a potential for the future. Longer term, this highlights the need for high-performance filters for all the different technologies to coexist above 3 GHz, he said. For its part, the U.S. wireless industry emphasizes that nearly 40 countries already use 5G in the region of the radio spectrum, shared with altimeters with zero impact on aviation. However, when you boil all this techno-speak down to its simplest parts, the only difference between the U.S. and European air markets may be mostly due to interagency dynamics within the U.S. government that don't apply in Europe. Translation: unions and politics. Which, if we're being honest, has historically been a problem in all aspects of American business life for well over 130 years now. Some of the airports that the FAA's AutoLand ban will affect are Boston, Charlotte, Chicago, Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Minneapolis-St. Paul, New York, Philadelphia, San Diego, San Francisco, and Seattle. Well, that's going to wrap it up for now. Hey, if you know someone that's an aviation buff or a fan of aviation, would you do me a favor and tell them about Maximus Aviation? I'd be grateful if you did. And as always, if you'd like to help support the channel, you will find links in the description, such as through Buy Me a Coffee and the merch shops. And of course, on your way out, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell. And remember, leave the rubber on the runway and your troubles on the ground. And I will see you next time in the air. Yeah, this is Maximus.